some artifacts refuse to fit into history. A bracelet from Siberia, drilled with microscopic precision, created before modern humans even arrived in the region. A burial ornament shaped like a sleek smartphone, centuries before the first battery sparked to life. These objects don't just look out of place, they feel wrong, as if they were dropped into the past from a different timeline. For every relic carefully displayed in a museum, there are others locked away in private collections or dismissed by scholars because they bend the rules of archaeology. Some can be explained by coincidence or natural processes. Others spark debates that never seem to settle. In this video, we'll look at the bold claims behind these artifacts and the best evidence scientists have today. Sometimes the mystery survives, sometimes it fades under the microscope. And hidden among them all is a single connection, a thread linking two of the strangest discoveries together. That link, revealed at the end, might just change the way we think about ancient history. This is Armchair Archaeology, and today we uncover the forbidden artifacts science can't quite explain. Before we dive in, take a second to subscribe if you love uncovering the strange corners of ancient history. We explore mysteries that don't always make it into the textbooks, and your curiosity keeps this journey going.
In a quiet regional museum in Russia sits a carved stone that refuses to behave like a simple relic. Heavy and weathered, the slab carries spirals and rings cut with patient hands. Skeptics point out that humans are pattern seekers, and what looks like a cosmic map might have been symbolic, ritualistic, or simply decorative. At first, curators cataloged it as ritual art, the kind of symbolic piece ancient communities used to mark seasons, storms, and the turning of the sky. Look longer, and the design starts to feel unsettlingly familiar. Broad spirals resemble the arms of the Milky Way, concentric bands echo planetary orbits. Tight clusters of pecked dots look like star groups plotted on a chart. Ancient sky watchers tracked solstices and eclipses with real care, but rendering the large-scale structure of the heavens is usually a feat we credit to telescopes, long exposures, and computers. Skeptics urge caution. Humans are tireless pattern makers. We read faces in clouds and maps in coffee spills. The disk could be ceremonial or a story in stone whose language we no longer speak. Even so, one curve keeps drawing eyes. Among the spirals sits a ring with a bright center and a darker surrounding halo, a shape that mirrors the luminous matter that circles a black hole. That image entered popular science through modern observatories, yet the stone carries an echo of it. The parallel might be coincidence, or it might hint at a different way of imagining the sky, one built from close watching and creative abstraction. Today, we use star apps, space telescopes, and computer visualizations to picture a galaxy. Long ago, an artisan picked up a chisel and carved a cosmos from memory and myth. Whether it is pattern-seeking, lost symbolism, or a fragment of forgotten knowledge, the Galactic Disk sits quietly under glass, inviting every visitor to compare what they think they know with what an ancient hand chose to show. It asks us to look twice, patiently.
In 2011, a Swedish team called Ocean X was scanning the floor of the Baltic Sea for shipwrecks when their sonar revealed something unusual. Nearly 300 feet down lay a circular object, close to 200 feet across, with a symmetry that didn't match the seabed around it. The blurry scan resembled a giant disk, so strange that headlines quickly dubbed it the Baltic Sea UFO. When divers descended, the mystery deepened. They reported angular walls, stair-like ridges, and even hollows that looked like corridors. More unsettling was the behavior of their equipment. Compasses spun out of control, and electronic gear shut down unexpectedly. Alternative readings suggest this is the work of Ice Age glaciers or sonar distortions, not architecture. It's a detail that fuels the mystery, but also raises questions about instrument error in deep, cold waters. To the divers, it felt less like a glacial rock and more like a sunken structure. The story exploded online, accompanied by sonar images that looked like they had been lifted from a science fiction film. The public imagined lost cities, sunken fortresses,
even spacecraft that had skidded into the sea thousands of years ago. The comparisons were irresistible because the object's shape echoed the futuristic disks we know from movies and UFO lore. Geologists, however, offered a sober alternative. The Baltic was once scoured by Ice Age glaciers, which can carve sandstone into unnervingly geometric forms. Features described as staircases may have been natural fractures. The hallways could be shadows on grainy scans. To scientists, the anomaly was extraordinary in appearance, but not in origin. Yet one detail refuses to fade. A long trench stretches behind the object, as if something massive had scraped across the seabed before stopping. Natural erosion could explain it, but the image of a gigantic craft leaving a skid mark lingers. Silent and unreachable beneath the waves, the Baltic Anomaly sits between geology and imagination, waiting for someone brave enough to decide what story it truly tells. And if you ever find yourself pondering these mysteries over coffee or tea, we've designed something just for that moment, our Ancient Secrets mug, inspired by the artifacts we explore. You can find it in the Armchair Archaeology store.
High in Siberia's all-time mountains, deep inside Denisova Cave, archaeologists uncovered a fragment of jewelry that shook the story of human craftsmanship. It was a green chlorite bracelet, broken but still elegant, with a hole drilled cleanly through one piece. Its age was the real surprise, around 40,000 years old. That places it far earlier than expected for such delicate work, and crucially, it wasn't made by Homo sapiens. It was crafted by Denisovans, a mysterious human species known mostly from a handful of bones and teeth. On the surface, the bracelet is simple, but under the microscope, its sophistication becomes clear. The drill hole is perfectly round, with microscopic striations suggesting a tool that rotated at high speed. The surface of the stone is polished to a glossy finish, far smoother than stone tools should have allowed. To modernize, it even resembles lathe work, though experiments show patient hand rotation and abrasion could produce the same effect. Some researchers argue this underestimates human ingenuity. With enough time and patience, ancient artisans could grind, polish, and refine stone in ways that surprise us today. Still, even the cautious admit the Denisova bracelet pushes the limits of what we thought possible in the Stone Age. Chlorite is soft yet brittle, making it notoriously difficult to work without cracking. Shaping it into a flawless circle would have required both steady hands and remarkable skill. What elevates the bracelet further is its meaning. This was not a tool for survival. It was art, ornament, perhaps a marker of status or identity. That suggests the Denisovans were not only resourceful hunters, but also creators of beauty, capable of symbolism and abstract thought long before written history. The Denisova bracelet is a reminder that forgotten human species may have been far more advanced and far more like us than anyone imagined.
In the early 2000s, a man hiking through Bulgaria's Rhodope mountains claimed to have discovered a skull half buried in the soil. At first glance, it resembled a human cranium, but closer inspection revealed features that didn't fit. It was unusually small, weighing less than a pound, with no jawbone and 6 oversized cavities where eyes or sensory organs might have been. Its dome was smooth and elongated, stretching back far more than any normal human skull. Skeptics argue it could be a distorted animal skull or even a modern fabrication. Without peer-reviewed studies, it stays in the realm of speculation. Photographs of the so-called Rhodope skull spread quickly. To UFO enthusiasts, it was proof of contact with extraterrestrials, the shape eerily similar to the grays described in modern alien folklore. Stories circulated of locals whispering about strange lights in the sky, giving the discovery an almost cinematic quality. Scientists offered other explanations. Cranial deformation, congenital defects, or the remains of an animal could all account for its odd proportions. Without DNA analysis, its origin could never be confirmed. The case was made murkier by the fact that the skull reportedly vanished soon after being reported. Some say confiscated by authorities, others claim stolen or hidden away. That disappearance left only photographs and eyewitness accounts, fueling speculation further. To believers, the missing skull suggested a cover-up. To skeptics, it confirmed that the object was never legitimate in the first place. And yet, those who saw it insist it was unlike any human or animal they knew. Its cavernous eyes and delicate bone structure gave it an unsettlingly intelligent appearance, as if it were designed for something beyond our world. Whether an elaborate hoax, a medical anomaly, or a lost artifact, the Rhodope skull continues to haunt discussions of the unexplained. In the absence of the object itself, the mystery lives on in the imagination. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the unknown, a super thanks goes a long way to help us keep researching, editing, and unearthing these stories. Every bit of support helps keep the channel independent and curious.
In Costa Rica, archaeologists uncovered a curious carved figure that quickly earned a reputation as one of the strangest artifacts in the region. Dated to around 3,000 years ago, the statuette is small, no larger than a hand, but packed with unusual details. Its body is squat, its arms and legs bent stiffly at the sides, and its oversized head seems encased in a rounded shell. Across the chest runs a raised element resembling a cord or tube, linking the head to the torso. To modern eyes, the resemblance is immediate. It looks like a miniature astronaut. For those who support ancient astronaut theories, this isn't a coincidence. They argue the figure represents a being seen by ancient people, its gear faithfully recorded in stone. The helmet-like head, the tube across the chest, even the rigid stance suggest protective equipment, not ceremonial costume. To them, the artifact is evidence of contact between early civilizations and visitors with technology beyond their own. Mainstream archaeologists, however, see a more grounded explanation. Across Mesoamerica, statues often portrayed shamans and deities in ornate ceremonial dress. Masks could give the appearance of large round eyes. Headdresses might resemble domes. The chest tube could easily be jewelry, a sash, or a stylized serpent, a common religious symbol. Interpreted in its cultural context, the statue is consistent with other ritual imagery. And yet, the power of the figure lies in its ambiguity. Show it to someone today without context, and most will say astronaut instantly. That flash of recognition is what keeps the statue alive in popular imagination. It bridges thousands of years, linking a pre-Columbian carving to one of the most iconic images of our modern age, the suited human explorer stepping into the unknown. It reminds us how symbols shift across eras. One generation's sacred image can look like another's science fiction.
In 2019, as waters receded in a Siberian reservoir, archaeologists uncovered a woman's grave that quickly made headlines. The woman, nicknamed Natasha, was buried with a striking object at her waist, a glossy black rectangle nearly 7 inches long, inlaid with semi-precious stones. When photographs surfaced, the internet gave it a nickname that stuck: the 3,000-year-old iPhone. At first glance, the resemblance is uncanny. The object's polished face looks like a screen, and the rows of turquoise and carnelian stones resemble app icons arranged neatly in place. It's a playful reminder of how our perception is shaped by the present. 2 centuries ago, no one would have seen a phone here. To modern eyes, it seems almost impossible that an artifact buried 2 millennia ago could mimic the device that dominates our daily lives. Archaeologists, however,
explained the piece as a belt buckle made during the Xiongnan period, around the 2nd century BCE. The dark screen was carved from jet, while the inlaid stones were decorative, not functional. Far from futuristic technology, it was a symbol of status, crafted with the precision and flair expected in the material culture of Central Asian nomads. Yet the buckle remains remarkable. Its size is unusually large, and the quality of its preservation is astonishing. Submerged for centuries, it emerged with its polish intact, gleaming like something made yesterday. That uncanny resemblance to a smartphone wasn't intentional, but it has made the artifact famous worldwide. The buckle's nickname is more than just a joke. It highlights how our perception of the past is shaped by the present. Just as we see apps where ancient people saw gemstones, future generations may look at today's objects and imagine meanings we never intended. In that sense, Natasha's buckle is more than an ornament. It's a bridge across time, linking human creativity then and now.
The year is 2016. A researcher walking through a forest near the town of Zaviodovici in Bosnia reported something extraordinary rising from the earth. Partially buried in the soil was a massive stone sphere, its surface stained dark with iron oxide. At more than 5 feet across and weighing several tons, it was too large and too perfectly rounded to ignore. Spheres like this immediately raise questions. Nature can produce rounded stones through erosion, but creating something this big and this symmetrical is rare. Supporters of its importance argue it could be evidence of a forgotten culture in the Balkans. They point to the giant stone spheres of Costa Rica, carved by pre-Columbian societies for reasons still debated, as a possible parallel. If ancient people in Central America shaped spheres, could the same practice have appeared independently in Europe? Skeptics prefer a geological explanation. They suggest the Bosnian sphere might be a concretion, a natural formation created as minerals accumulate around a central core. Over centuries, these layers can build up into round shapes. Iron-rich sandstone can also stain and harden, giving the illusion of artificial construction. From this perspective, the artifact is remarkable, but not mysterious. Nature is the sculptor. Still, size matters. If the Bosnian sphere is natural, it would be among the largest mineral concretions in the world, a geological outlier. If human-made, it suggests knowledge of stone shaping in the region far earlier than recorded history. Either way, the sphere defies easy categorization. Modern viewers can't help but compare it to engineered perfection, cannonballs, ball bearings, even planetary models. The Bosnian iron sphere stands silent in its forest, daring us to decide whether it's a product of geology's slow patience or the deliberate work of hands long forgotten. Either way, its sheer scale keeps it in a category of its own. What's your theory? Natural formation or forgotten technology? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear which artifact you think is the most mysterious so far. Peru has long fascinated archaeologists for its elongated skulls. Hundreds had been recovered from burial sites around the Andes, most dating to pre-Columbian cultures. The deformation was deliberate. Families bound the heads of infants with boards or cloth, reshaping them over time. These striking profiles marked status, identity, and connection to the divine. Far from being anomalies, elongated skulls were part of cultural tradition. One skull, however, goes far beyond ritual shaping. Along the crown of the cranium, researchers observed a dark plate of metal seemingly fused into the bone. The plate curves with the skull, almost as if it were tailored to fit. To some, this was not simply ornament, but evidence of surgery. That possibility isn't entirely implausible. The Andes already provide strong evidence of trepanation, holes cut into the skull to treat head trauma or relieve pressure. Incredibly, survival rates were high. In some communities, more than half of the patients lived long after surgery, as shown by bone healing around the cuts. If this skull truly integrated with metal, it suggests an early form of prosthetic repair, a practice we usually associate with modern neurosurgery. Skeptics urge caution. The skull's provenance is unclear, and without precise excavation records or laboratory testing, the age of the implant cannot be proven. The metal could have been introduced later through contamination or even deliberate tampering. Even so, the image resonates. A human head elongated through ritual and reinforced with metal conjures visions of hybrid identity, part cultural tradition, part surgical innovation. To modern viewers, it feels oddly familiar, echoing the titanium plates and implants used in hospitals today. Whether authentic or fabricated, this skull forces us to reconsider the limits of ancient knowledge and the lengths humans have always gone to preserve life. The world's attention turned to Peru's Nazca Desert when a group of independent researchers unveiled several small mummified bodies with bizarre proportions. Said to have come from a tomb not far from the famous geoglyphs, the figures were remarkable less for their size, barely 3 feet tall, than for their anatomy. Each hand carried only 3 long fingers, while their skulls were elongated with wide, empty sockets. To many who saw the first images, they looked more like creatures from science fiction than human ancestors. Supporters of the discovery held press conferences complete with CT scans and DNA test results. They claimed that the scans showed intact organs, including eggs inside one of the specimens, and skeletal structures that were too complex to be recent fakes. Some genetic markers, they argued, didn't fully match known human DNA. For believers, this was evidence that the Nazca Desert had preserved beings not of this world. The reaction from mainstream scientists was swift and harsh. Peruvian archaeologists condemned the project, calling it unethical, and warning that genuine pre-Columbian remains were being mutilated to create a spectacle. Forensic experts who reviewed the scans argued that the 3-fingered hands were likely manipulated human bones, altered to appear alien. Independent DNA testing conducted outside the project identified the samples as overwhelmingly human. Independent investigations and peer-reviewed studies overwhelmingly classify them as hoaxes. Still, their presentation online keeps the debate alive. Despite this, the mummies continued to circulate online. Their images, spindly fingers, oversized heads, hollow eyes, were simply too unsettling to ignore. Social media and news outlets amplified the spectacle, turning them into viral icons. Today, the Nazca Mummies remain deeply controversial. They may represent one of the most elaborate hoaxes in modern archaeology, or they could still contain mysteries not yet fully examined. Either way, they remind us how fragile the boundary is between discovery and imagination, especially in a world where images outpace evidence.
Some artifacts preserve not the work of human hands, but the world long before humans ever walked the earth. One of the most haunting examples is a piece of amber from the Dominican Republic, inside which a tiny praying mantis has been perfectly preserved. Its age is staggering, more than 30 million years. Amber is fossilized tree resin, sticky enough in life to trap insects, pollen, and even small reptiles. Over millions of years, it hardens into a gemstone, sealing its captives in a golden time capsule. Most pieces of amber contain flies or beetles, the everyday residents of ancient forests. But a mantis is rare. Its delicate limbs usually decay too quickly to fossilize. To find one preserved with such clarity is extraordinary. The specimen seems frozen mid-motion. Its spiny forelegs are lifted in the iconic prayer pose, its triangular head tilted as though watching. Through the translucent resin, its compound eyes still glimmer, giving the eerie impression that the insect is alive, only paused. For scientists, this kind of amber is invaluable. The resin can preserve not only animals, but also traces of ancient ecosystems, pollen grains that reveal vanished forests, bubbles that capture long-lost atmospheres, even fragments of DNA. To hold the piece is to glimpse a prehistoric world directly, without interpretation or myth. And yet, the praying mantis carries symbolic weight too.
Across cultures, mantises have been viewed as omens of patience, stillness, and divine presence. To see one locked in amber is uncanny, as if nature itself chose to frame a symbol in gold. More than a fossil, it is both specimen and story. A creature from deep time staring back across millions of years, reminding us how fragile and how enduring life can be.
Across deserts, mountains, and oceans, we've traced artifacts that resist easy explanation. A disk that seems to echo the galaxy, a massive anomaly on the seabed, jewelry crafted by hands we barely understand, and even bodies that may be hoaxes but still haunt the imagination. Some finds are dismissed as natural quirks, others as outright frauds, yet each carries the same power: to challenge what we think we know about the past. And hidden among them is the link promised at the start. Two of the most baffling objects we've explored: the Denisova Bracelet, drilled with impossible precision 40,000 years ago, and the iPhone buckle, buried in a woman's grave 2 millennia ago. Both came from the same vast Siberian region. Tens of thousands of years apart, yet both startlingly modern in appearance. Different ages, different cultures, yet the same region, reminding us that Siberia still hides stories we've only begun to uncover. Coincidence? Or does Siberia conceal a legacy of craftsmanship and imagination that history has yet to acknowledge? That's the enduring power of forbidden artifacts. They don't just stir debate about what's real or fake. They remind us how much of history remains unwritten, how many gaps still exist between evidence and understanding. Which of these artifacts do you find most compelling? Do they point to lost knowledge, or are they mirrors of our own desire to see ourselves in the past? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey, remember to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what we uncover next on Armchair Archaeology. Until next time, keep questioning, stay curious, and remember, the line between artifact and anomaly is thinner than it looks.